Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, if you do enjoy the video that you came here to watch, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that little red subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. It really does help my audience grow. It really does help this channel grow. It means more than you realize. So go ahead, hit that little red button. Also, remember, full episodes of the Aaron Torres Podcast, wherever you download your podcast, Apple, Spotify, etc. Now, here is the video that you came here for, previewing the 30 most interesting teams in the sport. We started with Memphis. We will talk about Illinois on Thursday. And from there, we'll do all the big programs. Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, UCLA, Arkansas, Tennessee, on and on and on. UConn, who we'll obviously talk about in a minute. And so a lot of college hoops stuff. But on Wednesday, we did get two pretty big pieces of college hoops news that I want to discuss. One positive, one not so positive. Hint, it's that UConn piece that I was just talking about. But the first piece of news that I do want to get into, it is a big one, it is important, it is interesting, and it is great for college basketball. It is the news via John Rothstein that Kentucky and Indiana, this is a rivalry that was once one of the great rivalries in all of college basketball. It has gone away for about a decade. There's been this weird public back and forth. Will it come back? Won't it? Well, over the last couple of weeks, we've started to get hints that it might be on its way. Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio said that, no inside information, but he thinks that it could be possible. I think Dan Dockich from the Kentucky side said as much, something similar. And Mike Woodson on John Rothstein's podcast said that he's hoping to get it back here in the future. Well, John Rothstein was really good at what he does. He put out a report on Wednesday that the two sides are in advanced discussions, and it sounds very much like this rivalry is coming back. We don't have a ton of details right now. Nothing is even official. But let me say this. Rothstein wanted to put it out there. Rothstein's great at what he does. He wouldn't have put it out there unless it was on its way back. Let me tell you, this is great for college basketball and a really, really fun story to monitor here over the next couple weeks. Now, what I would say about this whole situation, it's really kind of interesting. So like I said, this was at one point, really one of the great rivalries in college basketball. You go back, read the Wikipedia page. Joe B. Hall and Bob Knight almost got in a fist fight one year. They used to play at the RCA Dome in Indianapolis in front of 45, 50,000 people well before we played college basketball in stadiums at the Final Four, football stadiums at the Final Four. And so this has always been a great rivalry, but over the last decade or so, it went away, and it really kind of went away for one very specific reason. The two teams played in 2011. That was obviously the fall of the year that Kentucky won the national championship with Anthony Davis. And as every Kentucky and Indiana fan listening right now knows, Indiana won at the buzzer, walk-off shot, court storming, Christian Watford. If you've never seen the video, you can go find it on YouTube or Twitter or whatever. It's very easy to find. From there, John Calipari basically just said, look, this isn't safe. I'm not bringing my players back here ever again. If you guys and girls want to play this game, it's going to have to be on a neutral court. And so, but there's been this very public back and forth between the two sides about, will it be played in neutrals? Will it be played in home and homes? Indiana wanted the home and homes, especially when Tom Crean was the head coach. John Calipari's only won in neutrals. Archie Miller, when he was there, I asked him on this podcast, he said he was working to bring it back. So it has been out there forever, but it feels like we are on the home stages. And all that John Rothstein really said about this was as follows. He said, one, this isn't coming for a couple years. And then two, that it will be a combination of home and home as well as neutral courts, which led everybody on social media to say the same thing. That by the time it comes, if it's 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and then you play a couple neutral courts, John Calipari is probably going to be retired before he ever goes back to Assembly Hall. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. But let me just kind of get into some quick reaction. I think this is great for college basketball. And you guys and girls know my stance. I always talk about it. Anytime we get big names, big brands, big schools playing together early in the season, I think it's good. But I do think in this case, it's especially good. First of all, just two massive college basketball brands. And I understand for people of a certain age, Indiana hasn't been very good. I get all that. Kentucky has obviously been very good under John Calipari over the last 15 or so years. Indiana has not. Indiana still moves the needle. They have one of the most passionate fan bases, one of the biggest followings on social media. I think they might be one of only 2 or 3 basketball programs with over 1 million followers on Twitter. Our Mike Effin Woodson t-shirts, I can tell you by the number of t-shirts that we sell, by the different places that they go, this is a massive fan base. And so even when Indiana's not good, I mean, think about when they play Duke in the Big 12, Big 10 ACC Challenge, or North Carolina in the Big 10 ACC Challenge, or when they make an NCAA tournament, when they have a big home game or a big road game. They're still a big brand. People still tune in, and especially in those early months of college basketball. What do we always say about college basketball? College basketball is a sport run by the brands, run by the head coaches. And these are two brands that people tune into whenever they play, wherever they play. So when they play, that's going to be very good for college basketball. On top of that, why this is also good, these are two fan bases that do not like each other at all. Okay. And we got a lot of Kentucky fans that listen. We got a lot of Indiana fans that listen. You guys and girls could tell me better as to why y'all don't like each other, besides the fact that it's a rivalry, but you do not. And I know Kentucky fans, they'll sit there and say, we've moved past Indiana. We've got other rivals. We play Louisville. We play in the Champions Classic. We play in the CBS Sports Classic. Like, Indiana doesn't matter to us. Well, what I can tell you is I remember when Indiana and Kentucky played in the NCAA tournament in the 2016 season, I believe. It still felt like it mattered to me. And that's why this is so great, right? It's one thing to get even great teams on a neutral court, to get Duke and Kentucky, to get Kentucky and Gonzaga like we're going to get this year, to get Gonzaga and UCLA, Gonzaga and Arizona, whatever. But there's a difference between great games put together for TV purposes, and this is for college football as well. And then there's great games that are rivalries because the two sides hate each other. Like Alabama playing Texas is great. It's great for TV. It's great for college football. It doesn't feel the same as Alabama-Auburn, where the two sides genuinely hate each other. And that's exactly what Indiana and Kentucky do. Finally, and this is important, I think this can become one of these signature events of the college basketball season, something that if it extends beyond a couple years, I think this can be one of the events that everybody kind of sets their clock to, right? Back before this series was canceled, it was a game that was played generally mid-December, basically one of those 2 or 3 weekends between when the college football regular season ends and when the bowl games begin. Now, obviously, we're going to a world where there's going to be an expanded college football playoff, so I don't know what it means for the TV schedule, but I would still imagine there's probably going to be maybe one weekend where there's no college football, or even if there is college football, there's going to be a window to put on this game to maybe lead into, say, a college football quarterfinal or an opening round game, college football playoff game. So imagine going from 40,000 people at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, or 24,000 people at Rupp Arena on the second weekend of December, to a college football playoff game, or the first weekend in December to the SEC championship game. I think this has a chance to be one of these signature events in college basketball, and I cannot wait for it to get started. Now, we don't know exactly when it's going to start, but you talk about something that should be really, really, really fun for everyone in college basketball. I cannot wait. Kentucky fans, I know we don't need Indiana, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be fun. By the way, Kentucky, John Calipari for years got criticized about all the neutral site games and too many bad teams on the schedule. Y'all ain't got to worry about that next 4, 5, 6 years, right? 6-game series with Gonzaga, 2 at Rupp, 2 in Spokane, 1 in Nashville, 1 in wherever the other one is. Why am I blanking? Seattle, I guess it is. So basically 2 in Rupp, 1 in Nashville next 6 years. Now, probably at least 1 or 2 games at Rupp, a game or 2 at Assembly Hall, and maybe Indy, maybe Louisville. That's where they used to play these games. Really, really good for college basketball. Finally, let me wrap the show. Another piece of college